Plus, I'll be able to keep track of you and force jump you from other dimensions, so you should be good. Fine. I'll do it. Hey, Frozen, didn't you leave already? I believe we haven't become acquainted. So, you're the Frozen that Frozen keeps chatting with. I'm... Let's make things a little less confusing. You can call me Chaos. Aw, what's with all the hostility? I figured you'd be friendly. Why are you talking to me? You've never shown any interest in me before, so what do you want? Why are you doing all of this? What are you talking about? Telling Frozen about your plan of figuring out how to turn people's hearts into data to save all the dimensions from that threat, whatever it is. Because I need help studying what makes the heart so complex. Can't complete or go otherwise. There's much more to a person than just their heart. 4 parts to be precise. But you know that, don't you? The Spongebob Squarepants Movie. You can never go wrong with this classic. The very first SpongeBob movie to exist, and it was a blast for everyone. If you are a SpongeBob fan, you more than likely love this movie with a passion, and it's one of the most memorable cartoon movies that you remember. I actually don't think I know anyone that doesn't like this movie. It was an incredible deal when it came out and was actually supposed to be the finale for SpongeBob, period. That or the ending for SpongeBob, regardless of how many episodes come out. Not entirely sure which it is, but one of the two. Similar to the movie, the game captured the hearts of many. In fact, a good amount of SpongeBob games did. It's honestly surprising that I've managed to go several months now without having reviewed a single SpongeBob game, but I digress. Since the movie could have been the finale for SpongeBob, this game could have ended up being one of the last SpongeBob games to be made as well. But today we'll be going over the Spongebob Squarepants movie game to see if the then potential finale to SpongeBob games would have been just as good as the movie. As you can probably imagine, this game goes through the same events as the movie. It actually goes through everything almost exactly how the movie does, and all of the levels involved correlate extremely well with the movie itself. You get to experience everything: the opening dream sequence, Goofy Goobers ice cream party boat, yes that's what it's called, various areas of Bikini Bottom and its outskirts, and Shell City. You also get to see some places more in depth like Planktopolis, the Thug Tug, the bubble blowing baby hunt place, the trench, and there's even a Goofy Goober amusement park when SpongeBob and Patrick get knocked out after fighting Dennis, and a boss fight on top of David Hasselhoff. It's one of the best represented stories I've seen when it comes to license-based games based off of movies, and uses every segment of the movie efficiently and even expands on what the original movie provides. Even the amusement park that I mentioned doesn't feel like an idea that's used just to be there. Now there are a few main cast characters that aren't in the game, like Squidward, which might seem a bit concerning at first, but once you realize that they didn't have a major role in the movie either, it makes it fine that they aren't in the game, as giving them a bigger role could have felt a lot more forced. But this game has one of the best used stories in a video game format out of the games that I've reviewed so far, and I've done a good amount. Some cutscenes have still images from the movie, which I won't lie are a bit blurrier than they should be, so staring at those is a little bad for the eyes, which sucks when you know, edit videos. They are assisted with the voice work of the narrator and the characters themselves with the same lines from the movie, but they are revoiced so they won't sound the exact same. The main reason was probably because most of the voice actors for the main characters that end up returning have their original voices, aside from one, Dennis, which was originally Alec Baldwin. Instead, he's voiced by Fred Tatasciore, who's done quite a large amount of things. Even for just one major character, the movie lines were redone. Polar Express. I won't go into why I'm throwing major shots at the Polar Express game. I already did a review for that. Go check that out. All of the music is incredibly good. Every track is memorable, atmospheric, and an absolute jam. Some of my favorites being Turn the Table on Plankton, which sounds like it would fit a Devil May Cry game, Sandwich Driving 101, which is absolutely fun to just listen to, and Slide, which is a pretty nice song to just bang your head to. Even Goofy Goober Rock is in the game for the final boss. but I can't play it because there's huge copyright on that song. It's still a great song though. As of yet, I haven't talked about how everything looks in-game, but it's one of the best SpongeBob games in terms of graphics. Nothing looks weird or out of place and fits very well for SpongeBob in a 3D environment. Various areas also have varying degrees of color, from the bikini bottom you know very well to rustic reds, junkyard greens, ice cream whites, and dark purples. Now, one thing that I love when video games do it is give attention to detail and references, and this game has a good amount of that, such as the hand that takes you off screen when falling into a hazard, a good amount of enemies having bucket helmets on, every single name for the levels in the game, Plankton advertising his Krabby Patty bucket helmet and Plan Z while taunting you throughout some levels. And in the background when talking to Mindy, you can even see where Neptune's crown should be. I know some of those are small details, but I'm a man who appreciates those things. Since SpongeBob and Patrick are the ones who make the journey to get Neptune's crown, it only makes sense that those are the playable characters. You're able to switch between them in the Portal Heroes when they are available. SpongeBob and Patrick both start off with a spin attack, but as you proceed through the game and complete objectives which give you Goofy Goober tokens, you will unlock various moves provided by Mindy, which are used for solving puzzles and defeating enemies. SpongeBob gets a bash which sends him flying upward with an uppercut, the Sponge Ball which throws a bowling ball a big distance away, and the Sonic Wave which fires a first-person controlled sound wave from a guitar, which is one of the coolest sounding abilities ever, might I add. He can also wall jump by slamming his face into walls repeatedly, though he has that one by default to stand out from Patrick. Patrick gets the cartwheel mowing down things in front of him, the smash which puts impact on anything below him, and a throw which, well, that one's self-explanatory. He can also use his tongue to latch onto floating ice blocks and swing between platforms, though that one he gets by default to be different from SpongeBob. You are able to upgrade these too, aside from the tongue thing and the wall jump thing. However, you will have to get points, aka weights, from finding them lying about, breaking boxes, and defeating enemies. When you have enough points, you get an upgrade point, and you can make your moves stronger or increase the amount of health that SpongeBob or Patrick has. Each time you get an upgrade point, you will need to collect more weights to get an additional upgrade. Among the usual stuff, there are some levels that have different types of gameplay with certain objectives. There's driving in the paddy wagon where you have to make it to the end of the level. Around the tracks you'll see nitro boosts that you can collect and use to get a short boost of speed. Just keep in mind that if the car gets destroyed, you'll have to do the entire level over. Some other levels in the future also have other circumstances like making sure you don't lose track of something or getting past a certain area fast enough. Sliding levels have you constantly moving forward to make it to the end of the level, similar to driving. However, there are gaps that you'll need to jump over. Oh, and you also can't go backwards in these, so yeah. But don't worry, there are checkpoints for these. This is a bit more forgiving. Sometimes. Some places can be very windy and overlapping. So yeah, you'll have to memorize these a little bit, which can be a bit of an issue. In battle arenas, you must endure round after round of appearing enemies and defeat them all. There are a good amount of Krabby Patties around the area too, so you don't have to worry too much about health, but the threat of dying is still there. Then there's the intensive platforming areas where you will either be turned into a ball if you're SpongeBob and have to roll to the end of a segment, while also having to somewhat use the physics of just being a ball, or maneuver around many different types of blocks if you're Patrick. The blocks can spin, turn, change elevation, be slippery, have spikes on them, be bouncy, or disappear. Yeah, there's a lot that Patrick has to go through. Most levels have chests that are hidden, and by going out of your way to obtain them, you gain access to extras like concept art, costumes, and visual effects. The overall platforming, combat, and use of abilities is a lot of fun, and when you're able to create a lot of mayhem, you're rewarded with bonus points for your upgrades. Said upgrades are not only extremely creative sometimes, but really do end up changing the game, making all of your moves do more damage, and have additional effects like reflecting projectiles, stunning enemies, having remote detonated explosive uppercuts, another really cool sounding move, lock-on sound waves, a force field in front of your cartwheel somehow, and being able to satisfyingly yeet objects after a huge windup. You don't hear me say yeet very often, but that's probably the most fitting word for this. And the creativity for abilities don't just stop at combat. A good amount of them are used for activating certain things to help get you through the level, like the Sponge Bowl, and Patrick having to throw ice onto lava to freeze it so that he can move across it, or throwing watermelons at TVs to knock them down. The abilities give you so much freedom to do what you want in the game. and you are able to decide to not give yourself upgrades if you want to give yourself a challenge, but be warned. Though this game gives short videos displaying how to work around enemies' abilities and defeat them, in big areas where there are a lot of enemies on top of each other, or areas where you don't have much room to work with, your platforming is going to be put to the test. This game can be really difficult sometimes, especially later on, which is surprising for a SpongeBob game. I'm glad people knew not to pull any punches when it came to a battle for Bikini Bottom. Get it? Battle for Bikini Bottom, because it's another SpongeBob game. I'm also going to review the remake for that game, by the way, whenever that comes out. I'm extremely hyped for it. There's also a lot of content in terms of the amount of missions with the platforming specific levels, battle arenas, and other objectives that are hidden around the hub worlds for levels. Some of these are really difficult, like the Sonic Wave challenges, especially since they can last for a really long time. Then there's the chest, which rewards you for going out of your way with extra little things to look at and put on, and getting some of these chests revolve around taking shortcuts into driving and sliding missions, which controls very well. And some of these are also a one-time thing in the level, so if you end up missing out on it, well, you more than likely are gonna have to repeat it. If you don't have enough Goofy Goober tokens, then Mindy won't let you progress by teaching you new moves or having areas accessible. This forces you to backtrack and do extra challenges even if you don't care for them. Now, I am one that likes to go out of my way for extra challenges and achievements. However, I don't like the fact that going out of your way to complete challenges is a mandatory thing. Then you wouldn't like Super Mario Odyssey then, since you do the same thing there. No. The difference between Mario Odyssey and this game is that in Odyssey, there is also a legitimate reason for getting the power moons to power up and give energy to the Odyssey, and there's over 1,000 moons to get, so you can get the needed requirement very easily, even with there being challenges that you don't want to do. But this game completely halts the pace, and there's no reason for getting more tokens. What does Mindy need them for again? Plankton is taking over all of Bikini Bottom with his Plan Z. I couldn't care less about your Chuck E. Cheese token addiction, Mindy. If this was representing how she was in the movie, then I could at least somewhat accept this better. However, in the movie, she would be more than happy to help you in your journey instead of trying to bribe you with cheap tokens. All I can assume is that these are somehow her source of power, which even then is really stupid, but it's never flat out stated why she needs us to collect them. It's always just brushed off. If you are going to do this, at least give a reason for it, instead of trying to, quote-unquote, subtly say, go play our game more. And remember earlier when I said there are a lot of other things that you can do in Odyssey even if you don't like them? Well, a lot of the extra tokens in this game are gotten through doing the extra driving or sliding missions, which a good amount of the time don't feel any different than the regular missions. Now for separate levels, the driving and sliding level design is different from each other, so those don't feel the same, but the missions within these levels are just beat the level in a certain amount of time, or go through rings until the end. In fact, 2 of them are beat the level in a certain amount of time. One of them is just faster than the other. As a result, it felt tedious for me to do them, as it was like I was doing the same mission over and over. I tried my hardest to avoid having to do these earlier on, and do as many other missions as I could. But every time I would need a new move, Mindy would make me get more tokens as I wouldn't have enough. And sometimes it's not even just getting new moves, she also has to give you back the paddy wagon at one point as well. After doing as many other attacks that I could with the current abilities that I had, it got to a point where I had to do some of the driving or sliding repeats in order to progress, unless I used a cheat code that just gave me the abilities, which at that point kinda defeats the purpose, and on a normal playthrough, you more than likely won't do that. I shouldn't be forced to do optional objectives in order to advance, especially if a good amount of them I don't want to do, when there's not any reason to do it. Now, the version that I'm playing this game on is the PS2 downloaded version on my PS3. When it was available on the PlayStation Store, who knows how many years ago that was. But the audio for in-game cutscenes will desync at some point.
Don't let it get away!
Now, I'm assuming that only this version does that, and not any of the actual physical copies, and maybe even emulations don't do this either. But I'm not going to hold the game down for that, as not everyone would play this specific version. However, if you have heard of experiences with this on any other version of the game, let me know in the comments below. But again, I'm not going to judge the game as a whole because this is just with one specific version. Considering that this could have ended up being one of the last SpongeBob games, it went out with a gigantic bang. Living up to the quality of the movie, there's fun in almost every aspect of this game, aside from Mindy's constant requests. It's an exciting challenge at times while having some of the best music to jam to as you cause massive destruction. It represents the movie incredibly well, gameplay as a whole is incredibly creative, and pays a lot of respect to SpongeBob in general. Though this ended up not being the very last thing for SpongeBob Squarepants, I can say that this would have been a fantastic ending to the series. There's so much to a being that makes them whole, gives them life, like these vessels, for instance. You don't really think that body of yours will last forever, do you? Or perhaps you know that too. That one day your body will be put to its limits before it crumbles. I know what you're using Frozen for. You want me to stay silent. You do what I say. 1, as usual, you'll tell him your research isn't done. 2, you keep this talk in the others that we'll have between us. And 3, soon enough, you'll explain the other pieces you left out and send Frozen to this dimension. And why exactly should I listen to you again? Realm 0, Plane, LUKT. That would be your realm. Am I correct? I need to make sure I head straight over to the right place. Why? To make dissecting you easier, of course. I've done my research on you. You're more made up of some strange DNA than Frozen's. Who or what are you? And why do you know so much? That's for me to know, and you to find out. Well, as long as you do what I say, of course. But I'll be off now. Ah, you're back! How was the... Are you done with the research yet? I'm assuming the experience wasn't enjoyable for you? No, it was not. Now, research. Are you done with it? No, unfortunately. Of course not. Things are moving much more smoothly than I thought. What's going on, my fellow residents? It's me, TheFrozenCavern, and thank you guys for making it to the end of this video. As I said at the beginning of the video, it's kind of surprising that I've literally only just gotten around to a SpongeBob game. This is the first ever SpongeBob game that I've reviewed, which is crazy. I've almost gone an entire year without doing a single SpongeBob game. And of course, I do plan on doing plenty more in the future. As I said before, Battle for Bikini Bottom, I'm very well prepared to do the remake for that game whenever it comes out. As of the upload of this video, we have no idea when, but I plan on getting that game day one if possible. And of course, I will also do other SpongeBob games that are out there, and I'd even like to have a whole marathon for just SpongeBob games if I could, but who really knows if I'm going to be able to do that. Regardless though, if you have not already, make sure you guys go down into the description below, as that is where all of my social medias are located. My Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Discord are all down there, and there are all ways of you guys being able to know of whenever I upload another video. But if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more, as well as share this video out with your friends and family. But until next video, take care.